Hi guys, I am Dr. Sunil Sharma from Rajasthan Hospital, Ahmedabad. Now I am starting online lectures. So first decoding of ENT and head and neck surgery. Okay, this is decoding for ENT, PGs and NEET PG students. Okay, so first I would like to start first lecture about skull, anatomy, surgical anatomy of skull. Okay, now skull, that is covering of head and neck is mainly skull, face and neck skin. That is, now first talk about this skull. Your scalp is covering of skull. Covering of skull is called scalp. So this is having 5 layers. This is also mnemonic of skull. If you S for skin, C for connective tissue layer, A for aponeurosis, L for loose areolar tissue, and P for pericranium or periosteum. These are 5 layers of the skull. Okay, so this is covering of skull, and this MCQ most common ask, how many layers in the skull? There is 5 layers. Question is, answer is 5. Okay, now we will talk about individual layers. Okay, now we will talk about individual layer. First layer is skin. Okay, now we talk about skin. Okay, just first layer is skin. I am talking about in detail. Okay, the skin is very thick skin on the skull, and having more sebaceous glands and hair follicles. So this is the skull skin is most common site for sebaceous cyst in the body. Because of it's having more sebaceous gland, that's why it's most common site of sebaceous cyst in the body. This is another MCQ, and this is also Viva question in ENT PGs. Now, if we talk about the skin layers, just I am talking about skin layers. Normally skin having 7 layers. Okay, 7 layers are found only palm and sole. Okay, rest of the body skin having 6 layers only, because stratum lucidum absent, rest of the body it's only present in sole and palm. Okay, now just a brief discussion about layer of skin. If this is skin, this is having epidermis. This is brief discussion. And dermis. This epidermis having 5 layers: stratum, basale, or germinatum. Okay, stratum, spinosum, stratum granulosum, or stratum lucidum, and stratum corneum. Most superficial layer is stratum corneum, which having also dead cells, about 25 to 30 cells here. This corneum also having common cells about 1000 species of the bacteria. This is 5 layer of epidermis. Only lucidum found in the stratum, found in the sole and palm. Rest of the body having only 4 layer, that is skull, face, and everywhere is 6 layer of the skin, not 7. 7 found in the palm and sole only. Okay, this is about this epidermis. Now talk about dermis. Dermis having papillary dermis, and this is reticular dermis. So 5 layer of epidermis and dermis 2 layer, forming total layers 7. Okay. Now papillary dermis is also called fingerprint layer. Because fingerprinting always occur because of below the stratum germinatum or basale, because above that cells are always changing because of basale is increasing up to stratum, basale to spinosum to granulosum. All cells layer are changes because of mitosis in the or growth in the basal layers. That's why below layer is only constant layer. This is so dermis is papillary dermis constant layer. That's why you can found fingerprinting. This is also called fingerprinting layer. So MCQ is fingerprinting. A reticular dermis is also called tattoo layer, because the tattoos are mostly done in this layer. That's why they are constant. They are not changing, because changing layer basale, stratum basale is above that. Okay, this about skin of the scalp. Now talk about second layer is connective tissue layer. Okay, this is subcutaneous layer. Okay, this is subcutaneous layer, and this is fatty layer. It's made by the fatty tissue and fibrous tissue. Fibroblast and other connective tissue, mainly connective tissue, collagen fold. Okay. Now this is connective tissue. Most important in this layer is this layer having more blood vessels, blood supply or vasculature. So it's heavy bleeding layers. Okay, this is most important during lactation or anything and trauma. Most common layer is this is highly vascular, so bleeding occur from this connective tissue layer. Okay, now we talk about third layer is aponeurosis. Okay, aponeurosis is also having Gallia aponeurotica. Okay, this having muscles like frontalis, occipitofrontalis muscle, this frontal belly, and this is occipital belly of this frontal valley. Now see, this is skull, okay, and this is supraorbital margin. Now this is frontal valley of occipital frontalis. This is posteriorly, this is occipital valley, or this is frontal valley. Connecting fiber of this is fibrous layer. This is called gallia aponeurotica. This is gallia aponeurotica. So this is connection between the frontal valley and occipital valley, which occipital valley origin from the supranuchal line, external occipital protuberance, and insert on the gallia aponeurotica behind. Same frontal valley arises from the dermis of the supraorbital region. Note it down, dermis of the supraorbital region. That's why it's not having any bony connection. That's any trauma occur. That's why blackening of eye occur, because it don't have any bony attachments. That is also called raccoon of the eye. Raccoon eye or black eye due to trauma, because this is eye, so this don't have any bony connection. Frontal valley don't have its origin from the dermis, so that's why any blood which is during trauma trickle down to the around the orbits. That's why it's called raccoon eye. Raccoon, R-A-C-C. Raccoon is R-A-C-C-O-N. Raccoon eye. Okay. This is blackening of the periorbital region is called raccoon eye, or this is because of this. Frontal valley of occipitofrontalis muscle don't have any bony attachment. Okay, this is about gallia aponeurotica. And aponeurosis, loose connective tissue layer. This is fourth layer. We are talking about this loose connective tissue layer, loose areolar tissue. Loose areolar tissue layer. This is very loose tissue, which is, see, this is skin, this is gallia aponeurotica layer, and this is aponeurosis, and see, this is the bone, and in between this layer is having fatty and fibrous tissue also, that is loose areolar tissue, and this is pericardium. Below this is the pericardium. Above pericardium, this is loose areolar tissue. It's also having connection of diploid vein intracranially. Diploid vein and emissary vein layers. Okay, so this loose areolar tissue having diploid vein connections and emissary vein, and it also having extension up to temporal line laterally, not up to zygomatic line. See, this having loose areolar tissue extension to temporal line, but the skull having extension from supraorbital margin to external occipital protuberance, or this mustard and auricle and this zygomatic arch. This is extension of the skull, but extension of loose areolar tissue is not up to zygomatic arch. It's up to this temporal line. Temporal line mainly found in the parietal bone. Okay, remember, it's not located on the temporal bone, it's located on the parietal bone. This is also another MCQ you have to remember. Okay, now if I am talking about loose areolar tissue, Okay, I have some applied anatomy of loose areolar tissue. Now, loose areolar tissue also having applied anatomy. This is very important for you. One is cephalohydrocele. If trauma leading CSF collection, this is bone, this is brain, okay, and here is loose areolar tissue, this pericranium, this is loose areolar tissue. If trauma occurs, this breaks down, this having CSF. CSF in the loose areolar tissue is called cephalohydrocele, okay. Another applied anatomy is caput succedaneum. Caput succedaneum is collection of the blood in loose areolar tissue during delivery of the baby because of pressure hematoma. Okay, this is caput succedaneum, pressure hematoma during delivery of baby. Okay, this is also called sutureless hematoma because it can extend anywhere from parietal to temporal bone to occipital bone to frontal bone, anywhere. Okay, that's why it's called caput succedaneum. Okay, now to this, now third one is this is called dangerous layer of skull. Okay, this is dangerous layer of skull because any infection, any trauma or infection of the loose areolar tissue can go intracranially, through emissary vein. Okay, emissary vein have two connections laterally in mastod region, that is connected to transverse sinus. Okay, and posteriorly this is connected to the spinoparietal sinus. So emissary vein having to connected to transverse sinus and posteriorly spinoparietal sinus. So their infection can spread from loose areolar tissue to the brain. Okay, that's called dangerous layer of the skull. Loose areolar tissue is also called dangerous layer of the skull. Now talk about fourth applied anatomy. In this layer also safety valve hematoma. This is also called safety valve hematoma layer because any intracranial hemorrhage during trauma, if communicated to loose areolar tissue, it can give space to the brain to expand this. See, this is brain and this is brain. Any hematoma here, so fracture of this bone, any hematoma here can have space in loose areolar tissue. This is pericranium and this is loose areolar tissue. So this can give some space. So this is also called safety valve hematoma. So there are four applied anatomy of this loose areolar tissue: safety valve hematoma, dangerous layer, cephalohydrocele, and caput succedaneum. That is also called sutureless hematoma. Now talk about pericranium. Last layer of skull is called pericranium. Pericranium is periosteum of skull. Upper covering of skull, like parietal, frontal bone, temporal bone, occipital bone. This is called periosteum. This outer layer of the bone is periosteum, that is also called pericranium. Now this pericranium having most important applied anatomy, that is called hematoma. Hematoma, also known as suture full, yeah, suture hematoma. Hematoma. Because if hematoma occur in parietal bone, it's not extend beyond the parietal bone because of there is septa of this pericranium which is embedded in the bone and not allowed to expand from particular region of the laceration. That's why it's called sutureful hematoma. Okay, it's below the pericranium. Okay, second one is cephalohydrocele. Cephalohydrocele can occur also below the pericranium as well as the below the loose areolar tissue. This is also called CSF in the below the pericranium, also called cephalohydrocele. It can be found in the loose areolar tissue also. Okay, this is two applied anatomy. Now we talk about nerve supply of skull, blood supply, venous drainage, and lymphatic drainage. Four things. Now, nerve supply of, we are talking about scalp only. So nerve supply of scalp. See, here is it's supplied by the sensory supply, trigeminal. Now I am talking about first sensory trigeminal nerve and C2 and C3 nerve. Okay, how? Now I will tell you. Okay, see, I am drawing face. Trigeminal nerve, this is supratrochlear nerve. Supratrochlear nerve. Okay, this is supraorbital nerve. These two nerves are branches of B1, yani ophthalmic division. They are arising from the ophthalmic division. So two nerves are supratrochlear and supraorbital. Now talk about this here. This is zygoma. Suppose this is here. Zygoma, here is one branch that is called zygomaticotemporal nerve. Okay, this is from zygomatic nerve which ultimately coming from B2. B2 means maxillary nerve. Okay, this is also second branch of trigeminal nerve. These are three, and most important which coming here from deep down or foramen ovale. This is mandibular nerve. One branch is coming from mandibular nerve. This is auriculotemporal. Auriculotemporal nerve. Okay, this is in front. Trigeminal nerve supply sensory supply of skull from in front of the auricle. Okay, so there are four sensory nerves: supraorbital, supratrochlear, zygomaticotemporal, auriculotemporal. These are four sensory nerves, and auriculotemporal nerve is branch of mandibular, B3. Okay, this is trigeminal branches. Now behind the auricle, it's supplied by the C2 and C3. Okay, now we talk about, so we draw this line, lateral view of skull. Okay, here is one branch. This is branch of posterior division of greater auricular nerve. Greater auricular nerve, that is C2 and C3. Ventral rami of C2, C3. One nerve is greater auricular. Posterior division of greater auricular nerve. Second one is lesser occipital nerve. Lesser occipital nerve. It is also coming from C2 and C3. Now this is also one large branch of greater occipital nerve. This arises from C2. This is from dorsal rami. Okay. and last branch is here only at occipital region, that is third occipital nerve, that is coming from C3 vent, that is dorsal ligament. Okay, now we having four sensory behind the ear is posterior division of greater auricular nerve, lesser occipital nerve, greater occipital nerve, and third occipital nerve. These are four sensory branches. Sensory four. So now remaining is motor. It's having two muscles, is frontal valley of occipital nerve. This is occipital valley. So this supply by the posterior auricular nerve of facial nerve. Okay, this is coming style of mustard foramen. So this supply by the posterior auricular nerve. There are five nerve behind the auricle or five nerve in front of auricle. Now four are we have mentioning sensory. Now motor is one behind and one in front. That is in front is, this is supplied by temporal branch of facial nerve. So occipital frontal valley is supplied by temporal branch of occipital. Five branches: temporal, zygomatic, buccal, mandibular, and cervical. The uppermost branch of pes anserius is supplied temporal branch, that is supplied the frontal nerve. Okay, this is all about five nerve in front of the ear and five nerve behind the ear. This auricle, that is called nerve supply. Okay. Now blood supply. Blood supply of skull. If we draw, this is ear and skull. Okay. Now if two nerve is coming from this supra artery, supratrochlear artery, supraorbital artery, supraorbital artery. These are coming from ICA through ophthalmic artery. Okay, ICA ophthalmic artery then divided into two, supratrochlear and supraorbital artery. And here in front is terminal branch of ECA, external carotid artery. This is ICA division are two, supraorbital and supratrochlear. This is superficial temporal artery, is branch of ICA, external carotid artery. Okay, and behind is also you can see posterior auricular artery and occipital artery. Posterior auricular artery and occipital artery. So there are five arteries: supratrochlear artery and supraorbital artery, branch of external carotid artery through the ophthalmic artery, and three are branches of external carotid artery: superficial temporal artery, posterior auricular artery, and occipital artery. Now talk about venous drainage. Venous drainage of skull. Okay, suppose see there are two veins. One is supratrochlear vein, supraorbital vein. They drain into angular vein, then facial. Okay, facial vein. Now, if we see in lateral section, this is here. So here you can see this is superior superficial temporal vein, and here is coming from below the zygote one vein is coming, that is maxillary vein, forming the retromandibular vein. Okay, retromandibular vein. This superficial temporal vein drain to retromandibular vein. Now behind the ear is one posterior auricular vein. Posterior auricular vein, and last vein is occipital vein. Occipital vein which drain into vertebral vein. Vertebral vein. Okay, the occipital vein drain into vertebral vein. Now, if forming of drainage posterior auricular vein and this posterior division of retromandibular vein form the external jugular vein, and this facial vein and anterior division of retromandibular vein drain into internal jugular vein through common facial vein. Okay, common facial vein. So common facial vein formed by the anterior division of retromandibular vein and facial vein, forming common facial vein drain into IJV. Okay, this is about venous drainage. Now lymphatic drainage. Lymphatic drainage of skull. Lymphatic drainage of skull. In front of auricle, mainly parotid lymph nodes and preauricular lymph nodes, and behind this mustard lymph node, which ultimately drain into jugulo-digastric nodes. Okay. Now preauricular lymph nodes, parotid nodes in front of auricle. In front of auricle. Okay. And behind the ear is occipital nodes, mustards nodes, ultimately drain into level 2 jugulo-digastric nodes. Okay, this is all about skull. Thank you so much, guys.